Hello everybody and welcome to another one in our series Breaking Down Barriers. My name is Chris Igwe and these videos are inspired by my book, which is entitled Breaking Down Barriers, My Journey from a Small African Village to the World Stage, Breaking Down Barriers. And what I want to touch on today is something that in this book I provide as the reasons to read the book. And I know that this has been really inspirational for a lot of people who've read the book and have commented and saying this really gave them some excellent pointers as to what to discover within the book itself. So it's not complete, but some of these bullet points I think are helpful and it positions what I want to share with you today. The first is one of the reasons to read this book. Embrace cultural diversity. It is the fuel for connecting people. Embrace cultural diversity. It is the fuel for connecting people. The second is travel is the key to success. One of the reasons for reading this book, travel is the key to success. And the final one, which also I want to touch on today, is wherever you stand, just make a start. Wherever you stand, just make a start. Now we're going to go through in a few minutes just some of those thoughts. I'll break them down and I'll illustrate them through where I am today. I'm sitting in another hotel room. Fantastic. I travel a lot, so that resonates very clearly when I say travel is the key to success. But more specifically, where am I? Well, for the very first time in my career, I'm actually in India. I have been here for the past week, traveled to Mumbai, which I've never been to before, so this is a whole new experience for me. But also within that has been the exploration, the discovery, the excitement of really understanding the Indian culture and Indian people. Now, clearly in a week, you can only scratch the surface. I haven't got any deeper than the upper level. If you imagine this kind of iceberg pyramid where above the water is a very small part and then the major part is underneath it, which is the same in discovering people. We only show the top part of the iceberg to people, but the rest is hidden. In the same way, in terms of our strength, knowledge, capacity to be stronger and better at what we do, we only use a very small part of that huge potential that we have and that we've been given. The rest remains underneath and never actually surfaces. Somehow we never access that part of our being. So being in India, in Mumbai first of all, and then I traveled to two other major cities in India, one by plane, another by train, another by car. So it's been a real experience to say the least, but a wonderful experience traveling with my hosts and drilling down and asking questions of them asking questions of me to understand where each other is coming from. That's this cultural diversity piece. And if you're not open to it, then you're missing out on a whole world. Whole world. Things that I didn't know before. Yes, I mean, I love Indian food for a start. I love spicy food in many different ways, but I love Indian food. But what I also learned here is that when they say to you, would you like your curry or your chicken, whatever it is, medium or spicy? Most people might think, well, medium is kind of a European medium and spicy means spices, but it's quite the contrary. Already medium is a cut well above what we're used to in Europe, which I, as a Nigerian, we do have spicy food, but just had to remind myself, had I asked for spicy or imagined it was spices, that would have blown my brain completely with the level of pepper in it. But the food is fantastic. But like I say, from a cultural point of view, cultural diversity, there are various things that we have to learn about other people's culture and they learn about us. And that learning process comes through asking questions, asking. I've been very observant throughout my life. I learned that from my second daughter, I would say, when she was young and she just noticed things that I hadn't noticed. And I thought, she's very tuned up. Why don't I do this as well? So I get to the stage where I'm just as keen in understanding and seeing things. And to give you a couple of examples of doing that. So I noticed, for example, that the police at traffic lights, they had what looked like a card reader machine for your credit cards, you know, how you pay. And so I asked my host what that was about. And fascinatingly, it was about the fact that if they stop you, stop the car, the motorbikes and so on, they could then check the history of that vehicle and establish if there are any outstanding fines and so on. They would then allocate a fine for whatever they've stopped you for, send you a link through which you pay. So if there are previous fines, then they'll all be accumulated there. And then they send you a link which you have to pay through, which I said was, from a digital point of view, I've never seen that anywhere. I don't know if there are other countries that have that. But from a technology point of view, I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. But I also noticed it because I was looking not just at the physical height of the individuals as police officers, but what they were holding, what they were carrying. I noticed also that, for example, I'm here on business. I should have said that perhaps before. So I noticed in the shopping centres, having a retail background myself, and also in other places, that there are lots of men that gathered together. Whereas you often see men and women, boys and girls, hand in hand walking around. But these were groups of men, maybe 4 or 5, or even in one case up to 8. And I said to my host, I said, it's really weird. I've seen over the past few days many men just hanging out together. What is that about? And he explained it. I won't go into it right now, but he explained the hows and the wherefores and the reason, and sort of from a cultural point of view, from a point of view equally, that they like to be together. And what I noticed also is they take a lot of selfies together, which is pretty weird. I must admit, I thought to myself, guys all around and then one person holding the camera up and taking a picture of themselves. They go somewhere else, the same group, and do the same. And I thought, this is really interesting, weird, but interesting. And so just noticing little things like that, very, very important. Now, if you've not been to an Indian city, and my wife's been as well, and I know other people who have, until you experience driving or being driven, you haven't experienced anything. Now, if you are of a weak disposition, the best thing is to walk, but you'll never get very far. You don't get far in a car anyway, because traffic is so dense, it's so heavy, between the scooters, the motorbikes, the cyclists, the cars, the buses, the lorries. It is absolutely jam-packed all the time. And the thing is, people hoot or honk, depending on which culture you understand. So you blow your horn. So hooting or honking, everybody does it. And again, I asked my hosts, why does our driver honk all the time? Because when you honk, nobody cares. Nobody pays any attention. They don't move out of the way. They don't move over. They're not scared. They're not worried. Again, it's just an experience, but bumper to bumper, speed to speed, I have to say, if you are of a weak disposition, you will not want to get in a car. And even if you blindfold yourself or whatever, you will just, between the stop, the start, the stop, the start, you'll understand and experience it. So I don't have any problem with that. I didn't see any accidents, thank God. There's an amazing way in which there's kind of organized chaos in the way in which they drive. But I have to say, the most exhilarating, I guess, having seen some of these action movies and high-speed chases and whatever, where you see a car going down in the opposite direction. Well, I have to say that yesterday, that's what our driver did. Complicated story again, took the wrong turn, couldn't get back on. If we had to get back on, we'd have to go, imagine, down this way, go maybe 3 or 4 miles or 5 kilometers, and then come all the way back, and then over the central reservation and come back where we wanted. He thought, nah, I'm not doing any of this. So he turned the car around and went straight down in the opposite direction of a dual carriageway. The cars, the lorries, had to zigzag to get past us. We stayed close to the curb, of course, or the roadside. There is no curb. But I just thought, this is really cool. This is totally comfortable, totally safe, very good driver. And I'd seen it in other situations as well throughout our trip here. So all that to say, when you start to look at cultural diversity and the richness of what it can provide, a rich culture like the Indian culture, but it could be any other culture that you go to, aim to ask questions, aim to discover, aim to uncover what is beneath, but be incredibly observant. So when you go through, for example, customs, because I said I took a flight to one of the cities, and I noticed that on one side to go through, where they check your bags and then the metal detector the other side, it had gents, and on another side it had ladies, which of course is much more respectful than men and women. So gents and ladies, and the gents go down one side because the metal detectors are then, you automatically have to go through on the other side, and then there is there are the security who then check you with the metal detector. So again, it was just interesting to see that difference because I've not seen it anywhere before. And bear in mind that I've traveled all my life. First time to India, I've been sapping up knowledge, insight, information, and like I say, it's only the tip of the iceberg. So that's the first part very quickly. So that's kind of cultural diversity, the variety, the richness of what you learn, you experience, and what you see. And then the other is, as I said, it's travel is the key to success. Because travel is, if you don't travel or don't want to travel or don't like traveling, you're missing out on a whole world out there. We have the beauty today that it is easier to fly, drive, or be taken by train or bus or somewhere to a different, maybe city. Start out with a city, if not traveling abroad. But traveling abroad, even in a language you don't understand, although they speak English in India, although it was interesting to hear them speak very often in their own language. And that was fascinating as well because they broke into some English, which to be honest, we do in Nigeria. You would speak the language of your country, but you'd throw in English words or English phrases. So that was kind of interesting to see there's a connection in there. So travel is the key to success, absolutely. And the final part, which I mentioned in my 3 key points of the reason to read this book, for example, is start from wherever you stand. So wherever you are today, if you've never traveled, if you've never met or collided with another culture, now is the time. It doesn't matter. The fact that I've been to so many cities around the world, so many countries around the world, personally and professionally, and yet I've never been to India, with the exception of a layover on our way to Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore, which was many, many years ago. So coming here and discovering, for me, it's like, wow, this is amazing. This is incredible. And I'm looking forward to learning so much more, discovering so much more as we trade comments, as we trade insights, as we trade knowledge with my hosts. It is just one of the most incredible experiences one can have, to meet another culture, to learn about it, and to understand that diversity is, in fact, the key to our growth. The fact that we learn from each other and we learn about ourselves as well. What can you tolerate? What is acceptable to you and what isn't, in terms of your own understanding. So, in wrapping up, this trip has been absolutely phenomenal. I could be, and I will, unpack many other aspects of it that I have learned, I've experienced, that I've known, and see where those fit into my journey today. What can I do to support those who I'm meeting here in India? And how can they help enrich my life as well? Because I know that this is just the beginning. So I encourage you, I challenge you. If you've already done it before, then great. If you still want to go to a country or a place that you've never been to before, plan it out. Make it a part of your journey and make it a part of your learning, because every day is a new learning. Whatever your age, there is something to take away. There is something to give someone else, and there is something to receive from someone else, all in the context of gratitude, appreciation, and the fact that we just want to make sure that we are giving as much as we are receiving. That's really important. Always give as much, if not more, than you are receiving. And in that way, you will feel happier, you'll feel more comfortable. And to be honest, you will just go, as I have, almost like a little kid in a candy store. Wow, wow, this is incredible. So until the next time, I hope that some of these thoughts and ideas have resonated and invite you to enjoy and embrace some of those concepts in order to incorporate them into your own life. So once again, the book itself, Breaking Down Barriers, My Journey from a Small African Village. I invite you to, if you wish to, get a copy, but if not, just continue to follow me and listen to these different videos as I explore some of the ideas and concepts that I've put in this book for you and for others. Until the next time, as they do in India. Thank you.